Hello, and welcome back to Supposedly Fun. My name is Greg, here today to do a Friday Reads video, although I'm filming it on a Thursday, to kind of catch up on January as a reading month and look forward to February a little bit, talk about some bails, some borrows. One thing I really wanted to do before I get too far into this video, if you look at analytics on a video, it tends to like trail down. So before I lose your attention, I wanted to talk a little bit about, so I've been on Booktube a year now, and I don't talk about this on the channel very much, but I figured, why not go for it? I did not have very high expectations for joining Booktube. I thought maybe in a year or two I would find a community of people to talk to. It's gone better than I expected. There's no way to talk about this and sound humble, but I really hope that comes across like I'm surprised and pleased, and I don't even know what to say about it. I just crossed 1,700 subscribers, and to be honest, like a fraction of that number watches each of my videos, but still that's not what I had expected when I started Booktube. And reflecting on that after my first year, I realized I benefited a lot from the community and from people who had bigger channels noticing me, mentioning me, calling out my channel, and recommending that. And now that I've been on Booktube for a year and I'm no longer a Booktube newbie, I want to do that for other channels. And so I want, at least once a month, I want to try to give a shout out to a channel that is smaller than mine and that I think probably deserves more recognition than it has. And really quickly, before I get to the channel I want to shout out in this video, I just want to say thank you to some of the people who gave me that boost. I think the very first person with a larger channel who noticed mine was Olive at A Book Olive. She shouted me out on Twitter. I think it was back in March. And at the time she did that, I think I don't have the facts in front of me, but I think I had less than 100 subscribers at that point. And I got a big bump from that. And then the following month, I think Sean the Book Maniac found me. Matthew Sharapa found me around the same time and also gave me a nice little shout out on Twitter. And it kind of built from there. And then Simon at Savage Reads, and we did a buddy read in, I think it was November. And he mentioned me on his channel, and a lot of people came over from that. So thank you to all of those people. Honestly, I think part of the reason things went well in my first year was because people noticed and took an interest, and I'm very grateful for that. So to inaugurate this idea of me mentioning other channels, the first one I want to mention is Bear Reads Books. He is Australian. He reads very similar books to what I am interested in. We don't have, our interests don't 100% line up, but he's great for Australian book recommendations. He has really interesting takes on things. I just really enjoy his videos. He's a fairly new channel, so I would absolutely recommend. I will link his channel down below. Please check it out. I enjoy it very much. And who doesn't love a bookish bear? I mean, come on. Actually, I just realized I'm even wearing a bear shirt, so that was not planned. It was not planned. It just kind of happened. But so please check out his channel, enjoy his content, and I will try to keep doing this throughout the year. Okay, let's get to the main point of this video, which is the Friday Reads and some things let's talk about 2020 as a reading year so far. I had a really slow start to the month of January as a reading month. I just kind of, December was crazy. I love the holidays, but work was crazy. The holidays were crazy. There was a lot going on. So in January, I didn't want to feel pressure about reading. It's always supposed to be fun. That's, supposedly fun. It's my thing. So I didn't want to feel that pressure. Plus, I knew that I was going to have content for the channel anyway, because I would be able to do my best of, my worst of 2019, some books I'm looking forward to in 2020. I had those boxes that I am now 2 into. I have 1 more left. So I knew that I was going to have content without me doing a whole lot of reading, and I wanted to take advantage of it. So I got a really slow month to this beginning of the year. I finished Little Women, which was a carryover from 2019, and for a while, that was the only book that I had managed to finish in 2020. Finally, I did finish a book. I had started an audiobook just to I figured that would be a good way to get things going, and I didn't like it, so I stopped about halfway through. Actually, that would have been the second book. I started another audiobook and barely made it in. So that was Three Women by Lisa Taddeo. And I didn't even finish the first chapter, which is not something I typically do. I don't typically bail on a book that early. However, I have seen a lot of responses from women on Booktube and on Twitter and on Instagram. I believe the first one was Jacqueline from 6 Minutes for Me, who talked about how they had problems with the book because it says that it's about female desire, but it is actually talking about things that have nothing to do with female desire. It's talking about women being harassed or sexually assaulted and describing that as their desire, but it is not their desire at all. And I decided I wanted to try it on my own anyway. And in the first chapter, Lisa Taddeo is talking about a woman who is sexually harassed by a man every single time she leaves the house. And almost instantly, she starts talking about how this woman's sense of desire was impacting her life. And I'm stopping and I'm thinking to myself, that's not her desire. It's the man's sexual desire. She's being harassed. This has nothing to do with what she wants. And because I'd gotten all of that other feedback on it, I just decided if this is what the book is going to be, I want no part of it. So because I bailed so early, I'm not going to rate it. I'm not going to review it. I will certainly not include it in my least favorite books of 2020. It won't even be a contender because I didn't get far enough. I'm going to listen to the advice that other people gave me about this book. I'm going to do what I should have done with Malcolm Gladwell's Talking to Strangers and just not engage with it at all. And the other one was I started The Silent Patient by, I think it's Alex Michaelides, something like that. I don't have the book in front of me, and I obviously can't look it up right now because I'm talking into my phone. And I had heard some really good things about this last year. And I struggled with mystery thrillers a lot last year. If you have followed along, you would remember that. And I thought this might be a good way to try to get back into it. And a mystery thriller would be a great way to ease myself into the reading year. I got halfway through, I hated it. And I discovered something though. I think part of why I am struggling with mystery thrillers so much right now is that I don't like what the mystery thriller genre is post Gone Girl. You have all of these unreliable narrators. There's so many authorly tricks that I don't like. And I think Gone Girl pulls them off fairly well. I think you could make a case that The Girl on the Train pulls them off fairly well, although there are problematic areas of that book, as there are with Gone Girl. But I just don't like that that is what the mystery genre has become. Those are not qualities that I respond to well, and it seems like those books are everywhere now. And that's what I don't like. And I got into, and the other thing that I don't like is that they have this kind of flowery prose that I don't like or respond to. And I just don't respond to them. So I got halfway through and I knew basically a bunch of the tricks that were coming, because that's the other thing that's happened. When everything is surprising, nothing is surprising. So when you have an unreliable narrator, you've learned by now that you can't trust the structure of the book or what the author is supposedly telling you. So I felt like I was figuring it all out and I just was bored and not into it. So I looked up some spoilers online. Sure enough, I was kind of right. And I just, no, it was a no for me. So I abandoned that book. And because I got halfway through, I did rate it on Goodreads, and I will kind of talk about it. I don't think I hated it enough for it to be like worst reads of 2020. It was just kind of a not great read to me. And I understand why other people like it. It's just not for me. And I think the whole main focus of the mystery thriller genre right now is not for me. And to test this out, I picked up an Old Faithful, and this became the first book that I finished in 2020. C is for Corpse by Sue Grafton. And actually, I stumbled onto this because a friend of mine, Elizabeth, I've mentioned her, I talked to her about Roxane Gay's book, Hunger, and she's not on Booktube. She's just a good friend, somebody I used to work with at Borders. And she mentioned to me that she was rereading the Sue Grafton books, and they all hold up. And I was like, yeah, I love the Sue Grafton books. And I had actually started rereading them after Sue Grafton died. I got all the way through P is for Peril, and kind of fell behind, and then she died after Y is for Yesterday. So I decided I was going to go back and reread all of them, and I only got to A and B, and then last year I didn't get to any of her books. So I picked up C is for Corpse, also because I came to this realization about, after The Silent Patient, that that's not the kind of mystery thriller I like, and maybe that's why I'm struggling with them. And I loved this book. So I'm going to do a longer video about the first three since I have reread them fairly recently. I read A and B in 2018, and I read this one just now. So I'll do a video with a longer review about all three. I just think these books are a delight, and part of why I like them is that there's so much smart writing. There's no fuss. It's just a mystery thriller with a really great detective. It's not trying to trick you. I mean, it is, but not in any kind of overt way, not in any kind of manipulative way. This is the kind of mystery thriller I like. And this is what I need to try to focus on. And then I wanted to, so I'll talk more about those. I started a buddy read. Let's get to that first. Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. I am reading this with Amelia Reads. She's a commenter. She does not have a channel. And we are reading this chapter by chapter, although I fell behind. She fell a little bit behind last week, which was fine because I had some stuff going on, and I fell behind today. So we're supposed to be doing a chapter a day, and we're up to, she did chapter 9, sent me a message about it. I need to do chapter 9 and 10 today, if I can. And this is a really great book. I'm really glad I'm doing this as a buddy read. I'm really glad we are going chapter by chapter, because even though some of the chapters are short, and I could do more than one in a day, it forces me to stop and think about what just happened and speculate a little bit about what my expectations on the book are and what I think Toni Morrison is doing. And I think that's a really great way to read this book because there's so much going on. After chapters 7 and 8, we were both like, whoa! It's so good. And this is the novel that was prompting me to say in another recent video that Toni Morrison has the stuff to potentially become my favorite author and supplant E.M. Forster. But we'll see. That's to be determined. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really looking forward to reading more of Toni Morrison's books. So I don't know, we're halfway through, a little more than halfway through. So I should finish that by the end of the month, and I'll talk more about it then. Talking about looking forward, I'm getting ready to start after this weekend Such a Long Journey by Rohinton Mystery. This is going to be a buddy read with where we will read sections of it and post videos about it where we react to each other's reactions to the book. Really looking forward to this. If you follow along, you know that Rohinton Mysteries: A Fine Balance was my second favorite book of last year. I just loved it, and I'm really looking forward to reading more of his work. So then I got some stuff from the library, and with everything going on, and the first round of the Booktube prize is coming. I haven't gotten an assignment, but I believe I am going to be part of that first round. So I don't know how much time I'm going to have for these books that I got from the library, but I really want to read them. So I've got to try to figure this out. The first one I got is Unfollowed by Meghan Phelps-Roper, a memoir of loving and leaving the Westboro Baptist Church. Now, fun story really quickly. We were in Kansas City, and my husband and I actually went to where the Westboro Baptist Church is and took a photo of ourselves kissing right outside the main gate, just as a nice screw you to the Westboro Baptist Church. I've heard really great things about this book, and I really want to get to it. I hope I'm going to be able to fit this in. I don't know if I'm going to manage to get it in January. I may return it to the library and get back on the holds list, so when it comes around again, I might have a little bit less going on. And I've already done that with She Said by Jodi, Kantor, and Meghan Twohey. This is about them investigating the sexual harassment in Hollywood and kind of igniting the Me Too era. And I've already done that. I've already returned this, gotten on the wait list, and it came up again. So I feel really bad possibly doing that again, but we'll see what happens with that. I really want to read it. And the other one I got should be easy enough to fit in this weekend. It's Unbecoming by Una. I picked this up because Jen Campbell included it in her favorite reads of 2019, and it just sounded really good, and my library happened to have a copy, so I snatched it up, and I really want to get to it. So those are the library books I'm trying to get to. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to. Also, I started a book on audio that I wanted to do something that would fit with my reading goal for 2020, which is read outside your comfort zone. So I got so many comments with recommendations, and I'm a little bit overwhelmed, but I'm also really grateful. There were a lot of really thoughtful, good recommendations, especially in areas that I am weak. A lot of people had thoughtful recommendations on like paranormal or romance titles, since that is not an area I usually read and I'm a little reluctant to go into. And poetry, because I'm usually intimidated by it. A lot of people had very thoughtful responses to that as well. And a lot of people had really thoughtful responses that to recommend things that would tick a couple of different boxes. Like, it's poetry by someone from Australia. And, you know, thank you. I'm trying to go through all of those so I can set a sort of reading plan, maybe prioritize some. It's going to be a lot because there are a lot of really good titles that were recommended to me. But I wanted to do something that would fit with that theme. So I took a couple of the recommendations that off the top of my head sounded really interesting to me and looked to see what was immediately available on audiobook and what I think would be a good audiobook experience. I signed on to Scribd this year. I'm going to be supplementing Libby as well with that. So what I came up with was something in the Western genre. A lot of people had recommended True Grit. I am definitely going to read Lonesome Dove. In fact, I have plans to do a buddy read of that in March for March of the Mammoths. It is over 800 pages, so it qualifies. So I wanted to do, but Brian from Bookish told me read another Western before Lonesome Dove because Lonesome Dove will ruin all other Westerns for you. And I realized in this process, I actually am not entirely unfamiliar with the Western genre. It's just that I've really only read modern Westerns. Like, I have read The Sisters Brothers. I loved The Sisters Brothers. I read that Paulette Giles book, News of the World. I loved that book. So point just being, I actually do like Westerns. I'm just not familiar with traditional Westerns. And it's not a genre I've dabbled in a lot. Those are kind of the only two recent examples I can think of. So True Grit was a book that had been mentioned a fair amount. So I looked it up. It was immediately available. I grabbed it and started listening to it. Interestingly, it's narrated by Donna Tartt on audio. I had no idea. Apparently she is a huge fan of the book True Grit. She wrote the introduction to the release from 2010, and she narrates it. And she's really good at narrating the audiobook. Her voice is kind of reminiscent of Sarah Vowell, and it actually really works because it's narrated by this very kind of, I guess you would call her precocious young girl who is very intelligent, very organized, very disciplined and strict. And she does it really well. She gets into that voice. She's got that twang down. I'm really impressed. And this is from somebody who was not impressed by The Goldfinch and didn't finish it. So, hey, way to go, Donna Tartt. And I'm really loving the book. So, given that I loved The Sisters Brothers and News of the World, and now I'm really loving True Grit, I'm halfway through, maybe Westerns are something that I enjoy. I think that's the point of this whole project. To just try to discover these areas that I traditionally have ignored, or find new areas of strength and ways to engage in different genres. And I think I found it. I'm really looking forward to Lonesome Dove. I may just kind of grab like Shane or some other kind of Western, like an older one, maybe a Louis L'Amour, just to see what the I don't want to say mass market genre, but hopefully you know what I mean. Like the more commercial part of it would be like, and see if I like that. But so far, this as especially as a launch point to the Read Outside Your Comfort Zone challenge, I have given myself a really great start. Very impressed. I'm enjoying it a lot. So that is everything I've been reading, everything I am reading, some things I'm looking forward to reading, and I don't have an assignment for the Booktube prize yet, so I don't know if I'm going to be in this round. I don't know what I'm going to have to read. I won't be able to talk about it afterward anyway, or after I find out anyway. But that's kind of what's going on. I'd love to hear what you have going on, and I will stop wildly gesturing. Maybe. It's the Italian. Leave those comments down below. You know what to do. As always, I really appreciate your time. Like I said earlier in the video, I am genuinely surprised that so many people have followed along. And I don't talk about it much on the channel because I feel weird talking about it, but I'm forcing myself to do it right now just to say thank you. So thank you. There we go. And I'll be back. Until next time, happy reading.